Hello, good evening, and welcome everyone to the Overwatch All-Star Brawl number 2 presented by Star Esports, a double elimination tournament dedicated to the Overwatch Tier 3 community. Tonight we're going to have Soesic Esports facing off against Nocturnal. I'm 3.007. I'm joined by the wonderful Sir Waltham. And it looks like...
Once again, I forgot to unmute my mic. It feels like it happens every week, 3. But... glad to be here, ready to see Soesic Nocturnal in this loser's bracket battle. It's going to be good.
So this is going to be an interesting matchup. We are going to be getting started on Lijiang Tower. But yeah, so Soesic Esports, Nocturnal, really solid teams. We've seen Soesic before. They've been on a bit of what I might refer to as a tear through. They had a little tiny bit of a break, and thus far, though, they've been ripping it through with their, on the backs of their own skills. Meanwhile, Nocturnal, pretty much in the same kind of scenario. It also looks like from the player icon synergy that we might be looking at a precursor to the San Francisco Shock Vancouver Titans matchup here. But so for now, going into Lijiang Tower, I'm actually seeing some names come out from Soesic that I do not recognize. So it looks like they may have shaken up their starting lineup a bit.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit different, I think, from the lineup we may have seen on the side of Soesic. But right now, really just kind of waiting to see how these teams perform. We've only seen both these teams, if memory serves, about a handful of times, 2-3 times. And, in some cases, I don't think we've even seen Soesic more than once or twice. They did have a no contest lower bracket loss, or rather they took the win against Winnable. So they kind of got here on a little bit of a bye. It's going to be even more interesting to see how that pans out for them. Nocturnal, definitely more of a competent foe than somebody who doesn't show up.
Absolutely, and Nocturnal did even make it a little bit further than Soesic did in the winner's bracket. They went up against Runaway and ran away with that particular one, taking a bit of a victory there. And then, however, were pretty handily whooped up on by Class 6, which is a team that I think is going to be one to watch. But for now, we are going to be turning our attentions as we get started here. Looks like the teams are going to be readying up. And before we get started, we want to remind everyone, as you're watching the game and you're seeing players that are really ripping it up, and if we're hyping it up and you're loving it up, then give them a vote below the Twitch stream. They've got a little bit the MVP poll, we call it, and you can let everyone know who your favorite player is. But we are going to be getting started here on Lijiang Tower, and the map of the day to kick this one off is going to be the Garden.
Now, we love the Gardens, 3. I think anybody who watches our casts regularly knows that we are fans of Garden, and I'm not ashamed to say that a large part of that for myself, is seeing the Pharah potential coming out here. I mean, we've been seeing a lot of Doomfist potential coming out with what some might call the bigger leagues and stuff like that. But I think that Pharah is still a really potent choice on this map. I think it might be a little foolish not even to consider her.
Oh yeah, definitely. The ability of a Pharah, as we've noted, this is the double barriers meta, I think is pretty safe to say. Or, what do they call it? The Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I think is the sorry, did you even say it's the official name? I feel like Disney might have an issue with that. Anyways, moving on, the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. meta is particularly, how do we say this? Barrier friendly, but a Pharah is able to take some angles that lets those direct hit rockets go ripping into the backline, building up a barrage potential very quickly. And in addition to that, Doomfist is also pretty fantastical. But now, however, coming out on the side of Nocturnal, it looks like Caleb is dipping into that Pharah.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because the teams have different DPS builds, but they play the same way. Abyss and Caleb going to be good at maneuvering around those shields, whereas Mighty Owl and Inverse both going to be good at tearing them down, but they're all 4 on different heroes. Going to be interesting to see how they play throughout this one.
Indeed, and the Symmetra has already set up the teleporter right onto the point, and it is going to be immediately Nocturnal setting up. They've got the turrets. They're ready to rock and roll, so if Doomfist goes hurtling in there, he's going to get tons of damage right away, and he has to back out almost immediately, but it's actually Mighty Owl who finds Pain Warrior very early into the fight. Huge quantities of healing gone for Nocturne, and a very fast take for Soesic Esports, despite getting to the point dead last.
Yeah, and Mighty Owl played that exactly kind of how you want to play a Reaper a Reaper character. You really want to kind of catch him off guard. Just hopped right into the side of Pain Warrior, loaded them up full of those shotgun pellets, and made them pretty much cry out for mommy. And now we're actually going to be seeing the swaps come out from Nocturnal. When you don't have that sim, it's a little harder to push inwards, and I think they're going to be seeing that and switching to a more aggressive composition.
Dirty situation indeed, and Sia Healy actually is going to be building up to that Coalescence, speaking of the Moira being very deadly in a no diva composition. Then yeah, they're going to throw that Coalescence out immediately. It's right onto the point. It's going as Mighty Owl gets the initial pick again, and that's one thing for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fights that we're seeing a lot of. The first team is going to, rather the teams are looking to get that first pick.
Yeah, absolutely. And you see the Doomfist versus Doomfist matchup starting to come out now, and it is not looking good for Caleb. Both he and Abyss right-clicked into each other, which, as some might know, that leads the Doomfist to just kind of fall down. But when you're pushing into enemy territory, you don't want to be knocked down, which is exactly what the attacking Caleb had happen to them.
Indeed, and it tends to become a fight of not which Doomfist is going to kill which Doomfist, which team is going to back their Doomfist up the best. And we're going to see that fight going in again, as now a Coalescence comes out from Pain Warrior. Nocturne going to be making a play for the point, and Soesic is building up a huge quantity of percentage, and yes, Nocturne does finally get the kills necessary, or rather, both main tanks go down, and Mighty Owl's of course going to be the first one to fire off that Death Blossom. They get a 3k, and Unknown's going to grab a little bit of the clap back onto the Zac attack. It's not going to have a huge effect on the control of the map, and we're getting pretty close into that one fight make or break territory.
Yeah, Soesic is looking so good right now. They have had, you know, I just looking at the ult charges speaks a lot, right? There was a little bit of a late swap from Nocturnal by Caleb and Inverse, but still, they haven't even built up to within 20% of their ults, and they might get in this next fight if they're really putting in the damage.
Yeah, and the damage is going to have to be big time, but Bubbles is already at half. The barriers just come in to save the rest of the team, and almost the Doomfist. Gravitic Flux come out, coughing as Abyss slams Unknown and my breath right down my throat, grabs the big meteor strike, and that's an almost pretty total team wipe for Soesic Esports. They take the first point on Lijiang Tower quite handily.
Yeah, Soesic Esports, it's really easy to tell that their DPS just seemed a cut above the side of Nocturnal in some of those team fights. Again, that Reaper flank onto the Moira was great for opening up the first fight. Then the Doomfist versus Doomfist. Getting the Doomfist to drop in your territory is right what you want when you can't move, you can't react, you can't build up those shields of equal importance. You can't get that tankierness that, you know, a lot of people like to play with that Doomfist. And from there on, they just kept winning. They kept building those ultimates. There wasn't a whole lot that the side of Nocturnal could really do.
It was pretty clinical, honestly. A 0 to 100 is never the kind of situation you want to find yourself in on the losing side, that is. But Soesic Esports should be pretty happy with themselves. We're going to be going into the control center here on Lijiang Tower. Tends to be a map where you might see some Mei Reinhardt back in the day, and instead it's actually going to be pretty much a mirror composition, exactly what we just saw in the Gardens.
Yeah, absolutely. Mighty Owl did switch onto that Sim just for a moment, use the teleporter to get the team a little bit more forward, but going to be rejoining as the Reaper.
Yeah, and the Doomfists are already slamming into the backlines. Reaper's trying to get some kills, and Mighty Owl breaks the ice once again. Caleb goes down, Vinna follows very quickly after, and with Bubbles going down, all tanks for Nocturne are done. It is the dawn of a new era, and Soesic Esports going to be taking the early point. And unless Nocturne shakes something up, it is going to be another 0 to 100. Now, Pain Warrior on the Moira looking much better this time around.
Yeah, absolutely. But already, you can see how much damage Abyss has put through just by ult charge. It is incredibly high for having one fight in as a Doomfist. They have to be careful not to get picked here, though.
Yeah, Moira generating ultimate is nothing new. Doomfist generating ultimate that quickly is insane. And Abyss is already going to toss it out, but them missing on the map means Caleb, as we noted, is going to win the Doomfist fight by the other Doomfist simply not being there. Sia Healy goes down. Now Bubbles also is going to fall, so it's going to be an interesting trade. One team without a healer, the other without a tank, and that's going to go in favor of Soesic Esports, who find Caleb and Pain Warrior doing their damnedest to keep everyone alive, but it's still not going to be enough for them to get through this choke.
Yeah, absolutely. I really want to give a shout out to Pascal here. They are doing their best to work these halts. You see the Doomfist Meteor Strike coming in. As soon as that Doomfist Meteor Strike lights up, the halt goes onto the ground, letting the team know where they need to land it. And right now it is just looking so good. Every ult seems to be buying value for this for the side of Soesic.
And they're actually staggering them pretty well. The Gravitic Flux came out there, then they followed it up with Early Bird on the barriers, and they are just keeping the spawn stuff real. They haven't progressed past this choke point, but Nocturne has yet to touch the point after that first fight.
Yeah, it's looking really tough for the side of Nocturnal. They really need to start doing something with these DPS ults, and it's going to be hard if Bubbles can't kind of synergize in the way that we saw Pascal. And, I mean, even then we just saw a good grab pull or mini halt.
And yes, and so actually here we go. Now Nocturne throws the barriers. Caleb gets the big meteor strike in and kills, lighting up the feed for Nocturne. They finally make it onto the point. Now, Soesic Esports is going to have a little bit of a stall here in the form of Early Bird, who is going to push the point up into the 90s. That's still one fight territory for Soesic Esports, but Nocturne, having finally taken a fight, didn't even commit everything. They've got some ults in the ammo box.
Yeah, one of the crucial flaws for Soesic in that situation was that they were not able to react fast enough or get the leverage that they needed when Caleb was out of the fight. Caleb, of course, going up for the Meteor Strike. That's a lot of damage that you don't have to worry about pushing into. Just did not seem like the side of Soesic was able to respond.
Yeah, speaking of a lot of damage, a Gravitic Flux does exactly 50% of the target's maximum health pool. So that's going to open up the kills there. And as far as dry pushes go, that was the Saharan Desert because Soesic Esports barely generated any ultimates at all for this next coming up fight. And Nocturne is still sitting real pretty.
Yeah, absolutely going to be the case here. Now, we're going to be looking forward. We still do see that Battle Bongo. We see the Death Blossom coming up. So a little bit to work with, but they're not the most crucial ults. Usually you like to see that Doomfist come up, that Sigma ult to lock everybody into place. Once again, it's going to come down, I think, to Bubbles having that communication with the side of Inverse if they can get a good pull into the Reaper Death Blossom.
Speaking of which, if Early Bird can get the barriers in time, and it's not going to happen because Inverse lit his Death Blossom and gets a 4K! Abyss's Meteor Strike takes out Bubbles' Bongos, but who cares if you're Nocturne because you just killed everyone! Mighty Owl is actually going to get out alive after murdering Inverse, but that's definitely going to be a Pyrrhic victory. Zack Attack and Early Bird now going to have the barrier Gravitic Fluxes to play with, but Nocturne are still looking real strong here on this point.
Yeah, they absolutely are. They're really trying to turn it around, it seems. Their DPS kind of sharpening up a little bit. And that's exactly what we needed to see from this team. And the Meteors are going to be coming in to initiate.
Yeah, the halt's there. It isn't going to result in any kills, but Pain Warrior, the combined damage, I should say, is going to eke out Zack Attack from the field. So no big tank, no Gravitic Flux for Soesic Esports, and it is a very dangerous fight for them. The Bubbles Bongo was out, but they didn't have any problems, but that's Soesic Esports unload on the point. Mighty Owl gets rid of Vinny with the Death Blossom. Abyss finds the Reaper. Nocturne is going to have a hard time staying alive on this point now.
Yeah, they did drop the sound barrier, but it just did not seem enough. What needed to happen was that Caleb needed to find some value with that Doomfist extra health, just was not able to, and now it's going to be a question of if they can even get on the point.
3 seconds left. Can the Shadow Step comes in. Inverse ducks onto the point with the edgy teleports, and it looks like the stall picks are out. Bubbles is here on the Hammond, and it's not enough. And we have our first point on the board. Soesic Esports takes Lijiang Tower. Let's go to one of my favorite aspects of this tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. Going to be the map pick and ban phase. We have a little bit before the team's going to be making a final decision on that. But, man, I really got to give it up to Nocturnal. They were looking a lot better than they were on Gardens. I don't know if it was just the map didn't favor them, if they just got behind and couldn't recover. But they recovered on the side of Command Center, and they looked all the best because of it. I think they need to do a lot more of that. If we just see them adapt at the rate they have been, they can absolutely turn this around in their favor.
100%. Nocturne looks like they really started to come alive there on that second round of Lijiang Tower. So it's possible maybe they didn't get as effective of a warm-up as they would have liked, but they functionally took that map 100 to 100, or rather 100 to a 99. And that was a significant improvement over their first round where they didn't get any point of percentage at all in the slightest. And now it looks like Nocturne might have something to say about this particular matchup because they also get to pick the map they're going to be going into. Now, all we saw was mirror comp going into Lijiang Tower. Is this the part where Nocturne maybe starts to switch it up a little? Because they were actually the ones that wanted to come out there on the Pharah initially.
It's questionable, right? So Soesic, they look like they can play kind of the, I don't want to say the fundamental, but perhaps the most easy to utilize composition in this situation, right? And so I think if Nocturnal's really going to try to play something to their advantage, they're going to have to play in a situation where that composition doesn't necessarily have as much bite to it. You might want to keep them on something where, you know, that far is at a huge advantage. I know that they didn't really seem to work that well on the side of Gardens, but, you know, maybe something like Eichenwald, which the map just came through from Esports, they're going to be banning Eichenwald, but something like that might be, you know, a valid option. I think that there's a few more maps that they can try to leverage the far up, but Eichenwald may have been their best option if it wasn't for the fact that it was just banned.
And I am going to be curious if that was bait or not. They have banned Eichenwald, but that is not the only hybrid map in the pool. We've got Kings Row and Hollywood to play with as well. Kings Row in particular can be a fun little Pharah map, but generally I think teams are pretty reluctant to run the hero in favor of the very powerful Doomfist Reaper combo, which, by the way, we're going to have to think of a name for that one at some point in time. But for now, the Pharmacy is not a terrible pick on Hollywood, but again, it still wouldn't be my favorite. And yes, there it is. Bait taken. If it was bait, Kings Row has been selected by Nocturnal. So yeah, I'm curious. One thing we do note with Kings Row is that point A is functionally not defensible with the composition that we saw on Lijiang Tower. My prediction, and boy do I hope I get you baited on this one, is that both teams will run it on defense, and both teams will take point A probably in about a minute.
Yeah, and what that tells me is we're going to see kind of as that happens, how these teams react to momentum. Because if you expect them to get the first point within a minute or so, you have to have kind of a game plan of, oh, are they going to take that momentum and run with it? Or might we see them kind of peter out a bit through the streets phase and eventually into third point if they make it that far? That's going to be a big tell of how these teams will perform throughout the rest of this match as well, not just within Kings Row, because, you know, map momentum is certainly a thing, as well as, you know, entire match momentum. You know, if we just see Soesic kind of run off with this continually or continue to have that momentum from last round, that might be not so favorable for Nocturnal as they start to, you know, let the sand slip through their fingers as it goes.
Yeah, and Kings Row being the particular map that it is, teams tend to get stymied going into point B. It's a popular point for that final stall, that final hold, and a lot of Kings Row matches end with one team pushing it 100th of a meter past just up into point B where the other team failed to complete. So speaking of that momentum, yeah, I do have a feeling that point A is going to go very quickly. I think one of the Kings Row differences is going to be, but for these teams, is if one team can complete point A a little faster than the other, then I think that team will have the better shot at point B, just simply for having more time in the bank. I still think that there's no way either of these teams are going to pull off a point A full hold like we have seen in the past in other metas if they're going to run the same compositions that they've always been running. And Pain Warrior, speaking of which, is not going to be fooling me. Neither are you, Bubbles. I see you on the payment. Get off of it now, meanie head.
Yeah, does not look like any change-ups from what we saw on the side of Lijiang coming through from Soesic. They're going to be running the Sigma Orisa. Sigma players seeming to like to kind of hold the, I don't know what to call it, that little alcove area in the clock tower.
Yeah.
So they like to hold that space, not necessarily with their Orisa as much, but does kind of give a little bit of a heads up. Sigma, you know, doesn't have the worst range of all the tanks. I think that would go to Reinhardt or Winston. So, you know, you're able to, as well, you're able to get that damage in still. But right now, we're going to see the Rein Zarya. I'm liking this.
Okay, Nocturne, new favorite team in this particular league right now. Let's go! Bubbles and Vinny on the Rein Zarya. It's a good old-fashioned death ball coming out from Nocturne, with Caleb still in the Doomfist, presumably because just the sheer barrier-busting potential of the hero is freaking phenomenal. Now, the rotation was big for Soesic Esports. They left that high ground immediately, and Early Bird goes in there to boop some people off, and yes, Bubbles is going to bear the brunt of that particular barrage. They're going to get taken down very quickly, and this composition is getting utterly destroyed, picked apart by Soesic Esports.
Yeah, it just did not look like they perhaps made the rotations they wanted to make fast enough. We saw the Rein drop down in Bubbles, but they didn't seem to rotate into that clock tower, or if they were trying to make the jump, they just failed to make the jump if they wanted to dominate that high ground. So it didn't really look like they were able to be decisive enough, but now they're going to rotate through Hotel.
Yeah, new favorite. They're actually sticking with it, and they're taking an alternate route, which is what you do in this composition. There it is! Caleb finds Zac Attack so early in the fight. I was wondering where the rest of that damage come from. Inverse, the DPS from Nocturne going crazy. Bubbles with a charge! I thought you were supposed to unbind that ability before you even played the hero, but it looks like Bubbles has other ideas, and Nocturne take point A, not with a mirror comp, but with a completely unbelievably display, though Abyss is going to get a bit of the clap back there.
Yeah, gonna be taken out for their aggression, as it looks like Inverse will in kind. But I want to talk about Bubbles here. This Reinhardt, not a bad pick, because you can just swing through the shielding ability of, you know, both the tanks. And I mean, the pin kind of gets countered a little bit by Orisa, but the real problem here is going to be with the Earth Shatter. How do you try to navigate an Earth Shatter around 2 different shields? That's going to be a real test, and I think Bubble's going to have to try to pick it carefully.
Oh my god, this is how you do it. You take the back door, you go around the Orisa shield entirely, you get the shield in, you get 2 with the Shatter, and you go in, but the Coalescence is there to keep everyone up. As we noted, the Orisa is a direct counter to the pin, and it's there and waiting. And of course, no one was on the cart during the entirety of that fight. So while Soesic Esports murders everyone on Nocturne, the cart is going to peek out through this little choke here, but after that, it's just going to be staggers for Soesic.
Yeah, and as we've kind of seen a little bit from Nocturnal, they weren't quite able to capitalize on the CC they got through those ults. And it's kind of been the tale we've been seeing from them so far. It's certainly very early into the match to be saying that, but I think that they really needed to react a little bit quicker to Bubbles, Earth Shatter coming through, landing on 2 big targets. So we'll have to see if that changes here.
Speaking of which, what's not changing, it's going to be... I was going to say Nocturne hasn't changed anything up, but the one thing that's definitely not changing about Nocturne is getting sent right back to spawn en masse, as Mighty Owl definitely demonstrating that they are a bird of prey, coming down and dropping a huge Death Blossom.
Yeah, they're gonna have to the side of Nocturnal is gonna have to really be aware of that. They cannot let this Reaper just kind of creep and claw his way into the backline. That's not where you like to be. As well, we see Early Bird trying to get those boops off the high ground, and he actually gets it onto Bubbles.
Speaking of getting it onto Bubbles, Vinna in particular has been getting bullied a lot lately. Bubbles is going to go down very quickly thanks to Doomfist not giving a crap about barriers. And Inverse drops their Death Blossom in the backline, and all of a sudden Nocturne, they're looking pretty good in this fight. They're starting to pick up some kills, and it's currently a man advantage for them, and they're going to replace their spawns a lot quicker.
Yeah, they certainly are, and we're seeing Bubbles already get back onto the field. He's taken a lot of damage, but he's still getting that aggression that you need to have. But to be fair, on the other side, Soesic did do a good job of holding the cart despite the man disadvantage they were at.
Yeah, it's a 2.5 minutes now to take the rest of point B, and now Vinna has finally built up to a Graviton Surge, which is very difficult in the Shields of meta. The Grav goes in, it's gonna be Space Jam! We haven't seen this in ages! It comes down and gets no kills whatsoever. But I'm just happy to be here, except it's actually Soesic Esports who's happy to be here, who has countered all the ultimates there.
And Zack Attack lands a fat accretion onto Unknown, hitting him with the rock, knocking him out of the game. But with that being said, we're going to be seeing some swap-ups now. Vinny and Bubbles going to be swapping. This once again means that there will be a little bit of an ult disadvantage. We already see Pascal having that Battle Bongo ready and up for the damage boost. And, you know, Bubble's going to be at that massive disadvantage. Unknown does have the sound barrier to counter, however.
I'll be curious if the same thing happens this line. No, but it's not going to happen. Mighty Owl can't use his ultimate if he's dead. So that's just in, but Pain Warrior is going to fall to Abyss. And again, I'd rather lose the DPS than the healer, but Inverse has decided to add a tank to sweeten the deal. The Doomfist is in from Caleb as well, dropping some mad right clicks all over the payload. And Nocturne have seemingly, with the switch, found a little bit of their feet under them once again. Soesic Esports not able to withstand the onslaught. Abyss going to die here and pave the way for Nocturne to make a minute push, roughly, on point B.
Yeah, it looks like Soesic's gonna be regrouping. They might try to take this. I think they certainly seem to have the time to if they just want to stagger and stall out for as long as possible. But they really need to try to make something decisive happen here. It looks like Abyss leading in with the right click might not be the best move for your Doomfist. We're actually going to be seeing the sound barrier come out, and with the response, Mighty Owl using the Death Blossom. However, it will be stunned out of by the Accretion Rock, and the Inverse getting the better Death Blossom. This is going all in favor of the side of Nocturnal.
I see your Death Blossom, call you for Death Blossom, and raise you with an unknown 2K. That's point B taken for Nocturne. They have 2 minutes left now in the final push on King's Row. Not a lot of time. Unlikely that they'll finish the map with time on the clock, but finishing King's Row at all is going to be a big victory, especially going into a Soesic Esports with no ults ready.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, and the teleport from Mighty Owl right up into Inverse and Caleb. That is not a spot you want to be, my chap.
Big oof, and the head clicks with shotguns mean instant death for the Reaper on the side of Soesic Esports. The Coalescence comes in from Pain Warrior. It's not going to result in any kills, but it's definitely keeping Soesic on the toes. The Accretion comes out, that's not going to find anything, and oh wow, boy does Soesic Esports want to hold this point. Both DPS is getting in, but the kills from Nocturne cannot be denied!
Yeah, absolutely. Only a few members going to be walking away from the side of Soesic. It's going to be Mighty Owl trying to get that stall on the cart, but the halt coming in, just locking them down. And it's just trickle fest from the defending side right now. Can they make it work?
And the bongos are here. Anyone who even shows up on the point just gets murdered immediately. They're trying to force the Sigma C9, but there's still people on the cart. And of course, there's an entire minute. What did a caster say? They're not going to finish with time on the clock. Soesic Esports still having a shot to make that happen, though, as Mighty Owl throws the Death Blossom into the back line. Bubbles is going to go down thanks to some help from Abyss, but Mighty Owl even falls, only now for Inverse to throw his own Death Blossom out. Abyss can't find the kill onto Vinna just yet, but Sia Healy is going to be there to pick it up and trades left and right.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're seeing the Paxkull Hammond come out right now, and the Winston, both just trying to get on the point as fast as possible. The Hammond's certainly the best option for that, but leaves him a big target for this Doomfist and Reaper. And with that, it's actually going to be Nocturnal finishing the round. That's a thrilling third point, in my opinion, 3.
Sorry, did someone say they couldn't finish it with time on the clock? Because I could have sworn that Nocturne just finished King's Row with time on the clock. So weird. Who was that idiot who said that?
I don't know. I don't think anybody clipped it, so I think we're good. I don't think anybody has any proof. But with that being said, 30 seconds before it's going to now be Soesic's turn to attack, and you know, they might be a little bit shell-shocked from what they just saw come out of Nocturnal. I mean, we were talking about it. This team might have just needed a little bit of time to warm up, and they're seeming a little bit more warmed up now.
And there's also something to be said for throwing the unexpected into your enemy's face. And Soesic Esports, I think once they saw the Rein Zarya, may have even thought, and not necessarily incorrectly, oh, we can handle this. And then a Rein Zarya pushed halfway through point B. So, I don't know, that's kind of a thing. The Graviton Surge took a very long time to come out as predicted, but when all is said and done, Nocturne's the one with 30 seconds left and 3 points on the board. So now Soesic Esports gets to be the one to decide, all right, how are we going to pull this one off? They're probably, if I know Soesic Esports, going to be running the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. composition that we've come to know and love. And it looks like on the defense, Nocturne is going to be running the mirror comp as well, not taking any chances. However, in the mirror comp scenario, this is what I was referring to. Point A tends to go very quickly.
Yeah, and you'd have to think that Nocturnal has to be a little bit careful here. They didn't set the best point A time, and that's largely because of the composition they took, and they just failed the first fight. So, I mean, nothing to be ashamed about too much there. Sometimes it just happens, but it doesn't set them up to be in the best spot moving forward. They really need to try to hold off this first point as much as possible, but it doesn't look like they're getting too aggressive with it.
Yeah, Inverse goes into the barriers of Soesic Esports to try and get an early kill. That's not going to happen. Caleb biding his time, waiting for that option. Abyss getting brought down very low. They actually are, it's difficult to say. They're getting propped up, and they're going to make it for now. So Soesic Esports sets them to the ground, and there it is. So Abyss finds Inverse very quickly with that right click of Doom, and Nocturne has been pushed almost entirely off the point. They're not able to contest. They give up a tick, and the Coalescence already comes out from the Moiras because, of course, everyone's just taking so much gosh darn damage, but the numbers are favoring Soesic. The spawns favor Soesic. Literally everything in this fight favors Soesic. They're going to take this point in roughly 1 minute.
Yeah, and I don't know how Vinny ended up turned around kind of towards the attacking spawn, but with that being said, 5.5 minutes to be left on the clock for Soesic to get through point 2 through Streets phase. That's a pretty good pace. They don't have to worry too much about being too short for time. They have a plenty of opportunities to get through it. And right now, ult charges aren't looking that bad on either side. The only notable difference to my eyes, Unknown and Early Bird. Unknown, a significant lack of sound barrier productivity there compared to Early Bird.
And that's going to come into play hugely because Vinna is actually hammering in those Sigma bombs. And I swear, Reinhardt Shatter just came out. I'm suffering from a little bit of a post-Reinhardt stress disorder. And yeah, Vinna does throw out. Actually, yeah, they're going to throw it out. But Early Bird had the barriers ready to go. So, of course, it results in no kills whatsoever. Except for Inverse has decided that a follow-up was necessary. Early Bird actually goes down. Abyss finds the Doom Fist opposite from Caleb. So healer and a DPS player down. The favor is it's going to favor the defense here. Inverse is actually going to grab Password before throwing that Death Blossom. And of course, favoring the fight means nothing if you've got Mighty Owl on the Abyss on your side.
Yeah, really true there. And, you know, Inverse, the Death Blossom was opportunistic. It was you know, you say, hey, this might be what we need to turn the fight, but you're going up against Mighty Owl and Zack Attack. Both those characters have something to mitigate your Death Blossom damage. Mighty Owl just Wraith forms away. Zack Attack just uses his self-shielding, and that's not great. You don't want to be throwing away your resources like that for free, and more importantly, you don't want to be strengthening your opponent with those resources.
Yeah, speaking of which, Zack Attack, oh, Zack Attack finds Unknown before the barriers can even go in. That's so much damage that goes unaccounted for. Nocturne going to be folding completely on point B, and once again, the clock is 5 minutes plus for Soesic Esports to take a point. Now, this is kind of the situation that you, absolutely unequivocally don't want to find yourself in.
Yeah, that's really not going to be the case. For the side of Nocturnal, they want to get as many holds in as possible. They're going to want to try to make those holds count for as much as possible. So, you know, I think they're comfortable letting the cart move a little bit forward, knowing that it's going to make the next pushes take that much longer, but they have to hold this defense for that to matter at all.
More fights equals more ult charge, and that's exactly, I think, what they're thinking. The halt goes in. Vinny has the Sigma ult. It looks like Nocturne's going to be staggering everything quite nicely. But yes, and there it is. So Vinny throws out the Gravitic Flux, and there's no barriers to counter this one. Anyone caught in it's going to take that damage wholesale. Early Bird actually does go down very close. But Soesic Esports, so dang scrappy and keeping everyone healed up and propped up. Bubbles goes down. Both tanks gone for Nocturne. This is going to be a pretty quick point. Final take. Urgh.
Yeah, and Abyss using that Meteor Strike really wisely, knowing that Caleb's got to come down right before him, so he's just going to find out where that Doomfist is fall right on top of him, getting the kill. Bubbles actually claiming some names, though, just trying to burn as much time off the clock as possible. Then he's going to be hopping onto this Winston as well, and Bubbles getting the 2K just off of this roll spin to win tactic.
So as impressive as Abyss's literal 5K was, Bubbles stalling on the Hammond, building ultimate within probably about 20 seconds with environmental kills. Speaking of holds, this is actually kind of a really good situation for Nocturne to be in. The kills keep coming in, the ults are stacking up, and Soesic is in a full retreat.
Yeah, and now Nocturnal's in a little bit more comfortable of a place than having the cart impendingly pushed towards your spawn. Right now, they are pretty much of the knowledge that Soesic's going to have to take the longest walk back from spawn that can possibly be afforded to them. As well, they're going to have Bubbles' mines up. Bubbles getting some massive value, and that can buy you a lot of time. And that fight alone probably bought a minute 15 off the clock for the defending team.
And the Gravitic Fluxes go in, and it looks like only one of them, rather, this time around. Oh, Abyss finds Inverse. That's huge for Soesic Esports, and Sia Healy has that Coalescence, and they're making it happen. Pain Warriors too far away. Abyss goes nuts again, and oh no, the Death Blossom. It doesn't get any kills for Soesic, but the Soesic Esports kill feed sure is lighting up. Bubbles not able to get those miracle kills this time around. Inverse bullied into submission, and 2.5 minutes left with 2 meters left to go in the cart. Not looking good for Nocturne's hold now.
And it's just stall coming through. Then he's gonna get burned down. They bring it down to just under 3 minutes, but in the end, Nocturnal not quite able to find it.
They hold about as dang near much as you possibly could.
Yeah.
The one thing that I think could be said, Bubbles sticking on the Hammond, even though you have the mines, I think you have to switch. I think you really just gotta. It was doing fantastic work for you, and I'm not slighting Bubbles' Hammond play in any way, shape, or form in the slightest, as I can't. I'm a terrible Hammond. But the barriers are super necessary, especially for those holds. And so now, however, you did well enough, Nocturne, so you get a minute left to take point A. Now, if you run the shields of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and you run it into Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., based on what we literally just saw coming out from Soesic, have a pretty good shot at taking point A in a minute. But Vin is on the Zarya again. And while it makes me giddy and happy inside, I just don't know if that's going to be the right play.
Yeah, it may not be the best option for Nocturnal. They really do not want to give up that first fight as they did the first time around. I mean, especially in overtime mode, in multiple rounds. Every second counts, and you can't kind of wait to build that momentum on your second fight, because your first might be your last if it goes long enough. But I don't think it's going to break out here with Caleb on the Pharah.
And almost someone on the Hanzo. It happened so fast I couldn't even catch who it was, but they switched off. Of course they did! And Caleb, please spawn with the Pharmacy! And it's gonna be a Zarya Sigma. That's a very valid tank composition. Some bubbles and barriers might just be what the doctor ordered. That's a really actually good pun. I'm gonna pat my own back for that one. But Abyss is gonna find the kill on Tafina so dash dang quickly that Nocturne's actually gonna have a second round at this if they can disengage quickly enough.
Yeah, and one of the problems Caleb seems to be running up against is that they're not able to find a lot of damage with those rockets. That Sigma can angle his shield to where it prevents a lot of the blast damage from coming through. You have so much shielding to deal with, you can only catch a little bit of splash damage. Gonna have the rocket barrage up now, and I think they need to make it count.
Yeah, fascinating though that Seo Healy actually tosses out the Coalescence the minute they get it. I don't think that was the right option there at all, because Caleb has that barrage, and he's going in. You see this happening. This is going to be good. They go in right in the back line! They get no kills though! Unbelievable! They find Zack Attack with a late Racket Strike, but that might be exactly what the Doctor ordered. Inverse finds the Doomfist kill from Abyss. The Pharmacy is of course there to make it happen for the Resurrections, and they're back, throwing the direct hits right into the back line, and that's going to be a point take for Nocturne in overtime.
And that is exactly what Nocturnal needed. I don't think they need to get aggressive again. We're seeing Inverse get a little bit ahead of themselves as we did the second time around, but they cannot afford that. It looks like they're going to realize that, pull back a little bit. And now Pain Warrior and Unknown going to be having their support ultimates up. Going to provide a little bit more staying power for the side of Nocturnal. That's also a big advantage.
Wait, Bubbles, what are you doing? What's going on? Yes! It's back to Death Ball? It's a Pharah? I don't even know what's going on right now. This is just the greatest day ever, and it's a Rein Zarya Pharah on the field. What year is it?
It is the year of our Lord and Savior Pharmacy coming back on the line. That being said, though, they can't get too far ahead of themselves. This comp won't do too good split.
Watching that Bongos go down was like watching death itself materialize. And then Nocturne, wait, what the hell's going on right now? Bubbles gets the res from Unknown, and then goes right ripping into Pascal. Cool thing about Reinhardt, once the Orisa shield's down, guess who just walks right by it?
Yeah, Reinhardt's probably one of the more uninhibited tanks just by another tank's shield. He can swing through it. He doesn't care. But this is good. This is much better than Nocturnal was able to achieve the first time around. Caleb gonna have that rocket barrage up, and I anticipate they're gonna use it for Streets phase. Pharah perhaps not the most effective on the interior third point, but they still might try to go for it. And
yeah,
Bubbles having that Earth Shatter again might be big once more.
And yeah, it's a risky overtime switch to have to make. Getting sent back to spawn might be just what the Doctor ordered, but a barrage is also potentially what the Doctor ordered. They go into the back line, the Shatter goes in, it doesn't catch any. No, it catches Night Owl. They're down, but the barriers was there. Caleb throws the barrage out and grabs nothing, but Inverse finds Abyss. The die is going out, and finally, Soesic Esports grabbing once again the powers that they know and love. Overtime so low, the minute anyone leaves the cart, it's all over. And Nocturne can't stay on it long enough. This is where their push ends, but man, what a push it was.
Yeah, that's pretty respectable for just about a minute worth of time on the clock. The question now is going to be, can Soesic manage to make that same distance with triple the amount of time?
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. They've got 2 minutes and 57 seconds left. But more importantly, once overtime hits, we are all equal under the eyes of Jeff Kaplan, and this is going to be interesting. Speaking of very fast point A takes, this could be the situation where maybe, if Nocturne shakes it up a little and potentially bunker up, which is very beatable, you can you can bust a bunker, it's a thing. But if you shave off a minute, maybe even in a minute and a half, your Streets phase suddenly becomes a lot more interesting. It doesn't look like that's what they're going to be doing. Though if Zack Attack, yeah, okay, fine. Oh, now switch to the Hammond and the Diva. Really get me excited, guys.
As Threep takes a moment to cool down, I'm going to be hypothesizing about this defense a little bit here. Yeah, I absolutely see some points about how if they switch to something a little non-conventional, which Nocturnal definitely seems to be friendly towards that notion, you know, maybe it's just that Sigma Orisa isn't great at A point in general, so Soesic might not be great at taking A point either. You might have a little bit of a better time, and again, even if you buy a minute off the clock, you're gonna be feeling pretty good about it, and you have a lot of Streets phase to switch your comps, get ultimates built back up. You might be feeling a little bit comfortable with it. Not gonna be the option here though.
Couldn't have put it better myself, and that is going to be on the forefront of Nocturne's mind. They need to get the first pick in this fight. If they lose anyone on the defense first, the spawn's not going to make it back in time for Soesic to steamroll over them. And there's the tanks jockey for position, and the Doomfist try to find the kills. It's Inverse on the Reaper, who finds Sia Healy. A big heal. That's lost now, but Caleb goes down. Abyss winning that fight, but the final healer for Soesic Esports goes down, and Nocturne is going to have a chance to replenish that spawn. Again, Doomfist very quickly out of with his very many abilities.
Yeah, absolutely. I really have to say I like Vinny's use of his shift ability there. We saw him get knocked into the air with, I believe it was Inverse, and Abyss just starts firing at Inverse, but Vinny knows that shift ability has the opportunity to grab those pellets out of the sky, prevents the damage from going onto his teammates, and build up his health a little bit. That was pretty crucial. That was a very good use of just the single ability.
Yeah, 100% clutch gives you the shields necessary to survive. Vinny actually going to be pulling it off again, grabbing some additional shields as now Abyss goes hurtling into the backline. Inverse takes the hit, but they're going to get popped up a bit, and it's dueling coalescences on the field. This town might be big enough for the two of them. No kills going in yet. The slam comes in, and Nocturne's looking very low, and the kills are going to start snowballing. Sia Healy finds Vinna, Caleb, and Unknown both going down. That's going to be the point blown wide open. But what were we just saying about 2-minute holds, or something to that effect on point A?
Yeah, it's so amazing that we're able to see Nocturnal get this kind of turnaround defense. Yeah, it wasn't, a first point hold. It wasn't a first point stuff. It's not, going to win them the game on its own, but it is a good building block. This is some good flour for their victory cake if they want to pull it out on King's Row. They needed that, and they were absolutely able to get it. Vinny coming up with that Sigma Gravital Flux as well. It's going to be crucial.
It's a veritable truckload of ults coming out from Nocturne right now, and both bongos. Oh, holy moly! Nothing says team wipe like a bongos with a Death Blossom. Now, actually, my mental image here is Reaper dancing while someone plays the bongos. But I don't know. The murder is probably a little grimmer than you would expect. But now, 30 seconds left. But the big six actually going to be coming online for Nocturne.
Yeah, and that means that Nocturne has a huge opportunity here. Of course, we're getting close to one fight territory. It's not really going to be over until that overtime clock ticks down, as I anticipate. But still, they're doing their checks. They need to make sure that nobody catches them off guard, because this may very well be the last fight they have, and they need to take it. That's exactly what they're going to try to go for.
Yeah, all ults are online. They're throwing them all in. The barriers, the coalescence, it's all there. And what? Oh no, Mighty Owl takes out the bongos very quickly, and the Death Blossom goes to the backline from Inverse, and it grabs Abyss. But Abyss has already taken down Bubbles, and I'd always rather lose the DPS than the tank. But Early Bird gonna take the early ticket back to spawn, and that's huge for Nocturne. They have a chance to stabilize here. Major source of area healing gone from Soesic Esports, but they're still not leaving the point as overtime descends.
Yeah, and Bubbles coming back in on that Hammond, as we've seen, can buy a lot of stall. And right now, it's looking so good for Nocturnal. They just have to clean up a few more. Just that Sigma on cart. And as well, going to be having that Lucio cleaned up. The overtime burns down. It's 1-1, folks.
It's crazy! Nocturnal does it! They actually freaking take King's Row. This is awesome. Soesic Esports, you thought you had this in the bag, but Nocturnal's not gonna go down easy. I love it. This is exactly what we want to see. Game 5, baby. Let's do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Once Nocturnal kind of got comfortable, got kind of cozy with what they needed to, they absolutely made it work. And it did come down to exactly to what we called through. Whoever had the better first point hold, or a point hold. Now, granted, it didn't come through on the first push, but the second time, we saw 2 minutes be shaved off the clock, and I guarantee you, if that was just a minute, or it was basically a first push take from the side of Soesic, that goes an entirely different way in the street's face.
Oh, absolutely. And frankly, Sir Waltham, I think neither of us can be blamed for what happened here, because who in the blazes would have expected a Rhine Zarya to come out of spawn? Legitimately. The one push for the randomness is, interesting. But actually having it happen repeatedly over and over again, and then on the second push again, successfully, that's my favorite. This is the best thing ever. So speaking of which, by the way, if you want to see more Ryan Zaryas in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. meta, don't forget to follow this particular Star Esports live channel, because we love bringing this content to you. Throw us a subscribe as well. If you're feeling extra plucky, we have some emotes that you can throw out there, specifically the I Hate Widow and More Torb, which frankly are two things that are very near and dear to my heart. But this is the map ban save phase once again, and wow, that was fast. Nocturnal banning Nepal faster than I can even finish my spiel.
Which is a little bit interesting, because Nepal, I mean, not necessarily the most unfriendly map to Pharah. And I think that may have been one they may have been able to utilize their resources with. That being said, I can't say that the Pharah has been the most effective DPS for them so far. I think Soesic kind of has a pick of the litter moving forward here. And it looks like that litter is going to consist mostly of Hanamura.
We're going to Hanamura? Wait, hang on. I'm gonna pinch my. Ow. All right, totally awake. Some team in the Overwatch All-Stars Brawl just selected Hanamura in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. meta. This is so now including the Rein Zarya, this is my new favorite game of all time. Nocturne is going to elect to switch it up, and they are going to start on the defense, which is a very reasonable choice, and applause to them for doing so. But viewers, don't forget to pay attention to your teams up at the sides. Of course, you know, if you're following people like Pain Warrior, or of course you're keeping a close eye on Mighty Owl, then of course you already know which sides you're on. But speaking of which, if you're following particular players and you're loving it, or you would just want to wait maybe a little further to see what these teams have to offer, don't forget about that Twitch MVP poll that we have going below the stream. We have switched it up. The lines in the sand are drawn. Hey, that actually kind of works for Hanamura. We're going on, and so what do we see, Sir Waltham? Is it bunker? Do they really want to run bunker?
I have no idea. Like, this is kind of a little bit out of the zone of expertise for me, because we don't see this a whole lot. I'm hoping we might see some bunker play. I've really liked seeing that. I'm going to be overly optimistic here, Threep, and hope that we see some crazy Sim teleports coming through. We've seen them before. You and I have casted games where Sim coming through has done some wacky teleport moves, catching the teams entirely off guard. And I'm hoping that, you know, Soesic or Nocturnal are going to kind of take a play from that book and move forward with it. I think this actually might be pretty good for Nocturnal. They've shown that they play a little bit more comfortably off of the Doom Reaper style, so this might absolutely be something for them.
So if this, you know, this would be the big thing, and we're seeing it actually in a lot of league play as well, with where if you can win the map that your opponent chose, that's pretty much the go a long way kind of situation in terms of securing actual victory. Right now it's 1-1 for both sides, and Nocturne won the map that they picked. So far, that kind of tracks. Now, Soesic Esports have taken Hanamura. Logic dictates that they should win the map. However, I agree. Sure, Waltham. I think Nocturne have a solid shot at this particular situation. I think if they come ripping out of here with the... Oh my god, they're leaving spawn. You say it, I can't.
I'm optimistic about some of these comps coming through. We're seeing the Pharah. We're seeing the Winston. We're seeing the Hammond. I have no idea what's going on here, Threep. We're still seeing the Doomfist. But really, it looks like they're just trying as hard as possible to play some really divey characters, some characters that can't really get pinned down that easily. Mercy and Moira as well. Nocturnal really switching it up here. I got to give him a thumbs up on this one.
I literally just threw my phone on the ground. Like, I actually can't handle this right now. I just flung it. Like, $600 worth of tech. Just throw it on the ground. Mighty Owl going to be coming out on the Symmetra. Speaking of sneaky teleports, this is going to be big. Now, Sia Healy actually gets... Oh, I love it! Bubbles goes ripping into the entirety of Soesic Esports, opening the door for so many kills it hurts to watch. I felt all of that on my skin.
And Bubbles kind of set it up perfectly, right? The Sim teleporter comes through, but as soon as it does, a couple of them go through. Bubbles knocks everybody away from that teleporter. Now the team split uncomfortably in two. And how do you regroup from that? You kind of just have to take your lumps if you're on the side of Nocturnal. And man, so far this is looking good, but that was just the first point.
Yeah,
first push.
The only thing that, honestly, Nocturnal is missing from this particular fight is, in fact, a Mei. And that means that, yes, Soesic Esports is going to take that little sideway, and they're going to go right up onto that high ground. Now, Bubbles is doing some fantastic work here, ripping into that line. And wow, the barrage comes out from Caleb already, but this time, again, rather, it's not going to result in any kills. If anything, it only keeps Soesic Esports stuffed into this little corridor. And now Coalescence is going to be coming out from Sia Healy, and this is going to be Soesic actually taking point space so well. They take a tick. Oh, no, they don't!
They're just gonna get it. But right now, still, the stall coming out pretty good from the side of Nocturnal. Early Bird getting taken down is not what you'd like. And let's not forget, Unknown has that res to come forward if they get the opportunity.
new favorite game ever. But, so there it is. Soesic Esports not to be denied. Zac attack very strong. Now, Unknown does get the res onto Pain Warrior. So that's both healers now back in the game for the side of Nocturnal. And if they can get some point presence here, this might actually be a bit of a thing. But that also means they need to get some kills. And right now, we're not seeing anything come out.
Yeah, really, it doesn't look like Vinny able to get a whole lot accomplished with this Winston, but he's gonna pop the Primal. Might be trying to go for some environmental kills, but not onto himself.
He drops himself off. So that's it. Soesic Esports even throwing the bongos, and I actually think that was completely Did Abyss also just kill themselves? You didn't have to, like, be gentle about that. Like, you can capitalize on your opponent's mistakes. Like, that's a thing.
Either way, Soesic Esports gonna be trying to just regroup here before that second push. They're going to have 3 ults on line with Mighty Owl soon to follow. So they have a lot in terms of snowball advantage. Caleb, however, might be able to respond with a rocket barrage with no sound barrier to be online.
Speaking of sound barrier online, oh wow, so Caleb actually does get a kill on Mighty Owl, and so yes, Nocturnal's going to stabilize here quite nicely. The ultimate situation is interesting because Finna is still on a Winston and Bubbles is still on a Hammond, and I honestly don't really know what to expect anymore, so I'm going to claim that Bubbles has mines. Whether Bubbles still is Hammond when the next fight, I don't know.
It looks like Bubbles not going too quickly into spawn, so it looks like they may want to try to go for some minefield maneuvers moving forward, but Abyss has that meteor strike, and that's not going to be an ult that's going to be so high impact with all these mobile characters.
Agreed. Speaking of mobility, there comes Soesic Esports right up into the same route that they took the last time. This time, however, nothing's changed at all in the slightest. So Sia Healy is going to open up with that Coalescence. Abyss is there, just trying to do the damage they can. And Soesic Esports once again goes right to the point. The cleave damage coming out from Winston's Tesla Cannon, doing the best it gosh darn can. But ultimately, Abyss is going to have that meteor strike to play. And then Caleb gets 2 initially with the barrage. Mighty Owl takes them out, but the damage is done. The most important healer and tank on the field are gone, and that's another successful hold from Nocturnal.
Yeah, and Nocturnal is playing this, what seems like so well against a comp that has just been so dominant lately. I don't think we've seen much outside of the Doom Reaper, but it looks like Soesic might be trying to change it up. Zac Attack and Pascal might be trying to go a little bit anti-dive here with that Roadhog hook. It can definitely set some CC. They did give up the ult opportunities, though, of the Grav Flux, and we're going to have to see if it pays off for them. Vinny going to have that Primal Rage to just cause a little bit of stall and CC on the point.
Yeah, that is the benefit of switching up to a composition like this. You sacrifice ultimates, but if you can secure the picks, a pick comp is only as good as the picks that it can secure. Bubbles, it goes down immediately. There it is. Pick comp has begun. And though, despite Vinverse going in sneaky into the backline there, still no kills going to be resulting from that. And there it is. Still no more kills, but Caleb has gone down. Major source of damage for Nocturnal, no Moss, and point presence being explicitly taken by Soesic Esports. They're even going to toss barriers into this. They really want this push to work.
Yeah, they are trying to get it going, and it's going to have to be very decisive from Nocturnal. They need to make something happen here. And with Caleb going down after using the Rocket Barrage, it doesn't look like it's going to be.
Yeah, that was a no bueno situation for Nocturnal. I am going to argue that Bubbles switching onto Roadhog possibly was what did them in. It's a very... Roadhog has a place in this meta. Soesic Esports, I think, used him very well in that push there. It's pick comp.
Yeah.
You basically commit more cooldowns to get that first pick. Now, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is actually kind of also functionally pick comp. You're relying on your Doomfist or Reaper to get that initial first blood, and then the rest of the play should be good. It also, depends on who you pick up, but by and large, it's going to be a squishy like a healer. However, if you're throwing a Roadhog onto a defense, all that does is feed.
Yeah,
that's all it
does.
And you don't even have any mobility, so you can't even get to the point all that quickly.
Yeah, it's not. It was not a great switch, and really, the brilliance of the Roadhog coming out from Soesic was, what shields did you have to worry about? You have to worry about Vinny's bubble. That can be broken so easily. It's 600 HP if I'm not mistaken, and that goes down like wet tissue paper. So really, once you get that ability moved, negated out of the way, even if you just let it dissipate, you just get the hook for free, basically, if you can land a competent hook. I mean, Bubbles staying still with that Hammond pile driver did not help either. So there was just so many opportunities. I think Soesic really made the good choice there to swap onto that Roadhog.
Yeah, for them, they had the strategy in mind and they made it happen. Nocturnal, I think we're just we're just trying to throw HP onto the point. However, now it's time for Nocturnal's. Wait a minute. Nocturnal's making their offense. Mighty Owl on a fire. What's going on?
This is interesting. A lot of teams choosing to go with that fire right now. Okay, knocked out of the teleporter immediately.
This is my favorite day ever. Both teams are shocking me so much. It's not even my fault anymore. They're just being ridiculous. Mighty Owl on the fire, gonna get the kills necessary. Speaking of Sia Healy, who despite actually showing up on the kill feed is gonna be moving right along onto their nano boost. Meanwhile, Nocturnal gonna be sticking with the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. composition. Inverse gonna be ducking onto that Reaper to try and make a kill happen here.
Yeah, you can absolutely try with that Reaper. It's going to be very difficult, though, as Mighty Owl in the sky. Going to be a little bit unanswered here. You have to be very aggressive, push onto the ground forces, as we talk a lot with that Pharah, and try to get some value before your entire team gets wiped out by him.
Yes, what we've been noticing is that barrages tend to not get the kills that they usually do, except for a random 2K that a certain other Pharah got. But in this particular situation, it looks like, wow, okay. This is good times for Soesic. Holy moly. But it looks like there actually might be some swaps.
Yeah, one thing to note about Soesic's composition is that they're not able to build up those support ults that quickly, at least not as quickly as the side of Nocturnal. Pain Warrior with that Moira already has the Coalescence. Vinny and Bubbles going to be on the Hog Ori once again. That's going to be hard to run against Zax Attack's Sigma, I said anyway.
Yeah, so Vinna does get the kill onto Zax Attack, and that is huge. That's exactly what you want the Roadhog to do. Get that early kill. But instead, Soesic just clapped back so gosh dang fast, it like creates a sonic boom. Now, Inverse fighting Abyss, that's kind of neat, but Pascal is just going to generate some sheer ult charge onto... Well, they would have generated some ult charge if they didn't actually have bombos on the field. But, so, now we're looking at Nocturnal. They've burned through a little over half of their time bank here for the initial take, and it's not looking pretty.
Yeah, they don't really seem to know how they want to take this kind of push moving forward. They're gonna try to just initiate with Coalescence. Nobody dropping from that grab flux, though. Abyss getting dangerously low and dropped.
Yeah, that's crazy. Unknown didn't even have the... so there it is. Mighty Owl had the barrage the whole time. That's what no one saw. Oh, a nano-boosted barrage. That's how you get kills with barrage in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But yeah, Unknown didn't have the barriers ready to go, and of course there are no barriers to speak of, and also no flux on Soesic Esports side, but you know, tomatoes, tomatoes. That being said though, it looks like Nocturnal is... there it is. Changing it up, I love it.
Yeah, they're going to go once again into the Symmetra fray with this. Then you're going to be having that whole hog up very soon, which may not be the worst option. You have a lot of shield break with that whole hog if you're able to just kind of tuck it in real close, but you can also feed Sigma's ability quite a bit, so you have to be very careful.
Wow, look at the anti-nade that just went in. Bubbles and Vinna get tagged like it was their job, like they went to the DMV and drew the 100th card in line. Oh man, Pain Warrior just gonna like off themselves. Like, yeah, the whole team, they get it. They got 30 seconds left. They gotta make something happen.
Yeah, and you know, good restraint from the side of Nocturnal. You don't want to take that and leave yourself with no more pushes. Bubble's gonna be trying to hop onto this Wrecking Ball, but not a lot of ults. And you look at the other side, nothing online immediately, but Mighty Owl, Abyss, even Early Bird and Pascal probably gonna be getting some ults throughout this fight if it goes long enough, and that's a tough spot to be in.
And Mighty Owl already has Barrage again. This is definitely a desperation push coming out from Nocturnal. They're going to have to touch at some point in time. They actually only have a second to do it. Caleb goes down so quickly. Overtime is triggered, but again, the D.Va is neat. Oh no, Inverse actually finds Mighty Owl. Okay, hang on, it's a fight. And there it is, Nocturnal. Caleb even on the Tracer. Bubbles finding the booms. This is fantastic. Bubbles, Hammond main. Play Bubbles all the time.
What is going on, 3? Because this is just a mess. A Tracer In 2019, excuse me? Questionable. But
September 2019, Tracer died, actually. I don't know if anyone knows that. That's canon. So this is kind of like this weird like developer thing they're doing. It's kind of creepy. Look, they're even switching off of it. You can only play Tracer for like 30 seconds at a time. It's a weird thing. So 3 minutes on the clock. Vina on Baby Diva. This is my new favorite thing ever. They're not switching. They're actually running a pretty viable composition. They're gonna sneak bubbles. I shouldn't say sneak bubbles onto the point. He's very vocal about what they're doing. Constantly getting those major kills. So yeah, Nocturnal gonna be making a play for the point, but the ults for Soesic are so gosh darn strong. I find it difficult to think that they won't repel this. And yes, indeed, the kill goes into unknown. Pain Warrior gonna generate some more charge from Abyss. Bubbles, of course, is gonna find a kill because apparently that's what Bubbles does right now. But yeah, Nocturnal gonna be repelled.
yeah, and Bubbles actually working really hard to try to get Xiaoli off of that high ground, really using that grappling hook and the speed boost to their advantage, knocking the Ana down. However, getting the kill onto the Ana was not enough there, especially when you have early bird just ready to get that res up, ready like it's nothing. So I think that we're going to have to be looking forward to how these supports play their ultimates, because, you know, I'm anticipating Nocturnal's going to want to get as much time on the clock here as possible, and to do that, they really need to make some picks come through with Bubbles and Vinny working together.
That is a truckload of damage going into Nocturnal right there. And yeah, so the Coalescence comes out about exactly as fast as I thought it would. Bubbles finds Sia Healy immediately in the fight. Not good for Soesic Esports. Abyss throws out the Meteor Strike. It's not going to result in any kills whatsoever. And so the rotation to the point happens. The barrage happens, but it goes down immediately. Mighty Owl gets taken out by Inverse. Who says Reaper can't deal with a Pharah? Board 11, but for now, let's see if Nocturnal can make it happen, and they do! Kill after kill after kill!
Yeah, right now it is looking good. The tide's turning a little bit, though, for Soesic. They dropped Pascal's damage amplification, and that's not going to be great. They needed that to really kind of clutch back, but can they?
Remember when people thought Arisa's ult wasn't going to be all that good? Anyways, we're now looking at Nocturnal taking the point. No, we're not! It's still contested! They have yet to take a tick! Soesic Esports with defensive spawns. Mighty Owl flexes onto the Tracer once again. And this is just bonkers. Nocturnal can't seem to eliminate Soesic Esports long enough from the point to get a single tick.
Yeah, if you're a fan of Nocturnal, that hurts a lot. Nocturnal was looking so good going into that fight. Although, looking forward, Soesic not in the best spot as they had to invest quite a bit of ults in the swap-offs and team comp shuffles, but they did get a bit of time in the time bank burned off. Nocturnal now having the ult advantage, but not the time, and Soesic having the time, but not the ult.
Yeah, this is new Overwatch, so if Nocturnal finishes this map, it's not going to be a good situation for them either way. Ults are being flung left and right into this fight, and both teams fighting for the point pretty much about as hard as they can. Vina, of course, with the power of the whole hog, is going to rip apart Pascal. And the Death Blossom goes in. That actually is going to grab early bird. So yeah, looking pretty good on this offense is Nocturnal. And they're probably going to get it, but it's overtime.
Yeah, that means, of course, Nocturnal not going to be able to do anything better than a draw, but they'll certainly be looking to take that. Caleb getting right up into spawn, making sure ain't nobody stepping onto their point. The Baptiste even trying to come out from early bird, not going to find any purchase.
Yeah, it's a shame that it took them this long to make it happen, because that fight was exactly as decisive as you would have wanted it to be. And granted, yeah, sure, fine. They had the big six or whatever, but using the big six to your actual victory conclusion is, you know, not something that just any team can pull off, and especially in the face of someone like Soesic Esports, who have clearly demonstrated themselves to be utterly ridiculous. It's not a guaranteed victory. So, that being said, however, yeah, it's a minute 48 to a draw if you're Nocturnal. It's a minute 48 to a third and victory and another point on the board if you're Soesic.
Yeah, Nocturnal going to have to really be thinking their defensive composition thoroughly here. We know that they may not necessarily want to play the double shield, Doomfist, Reaper. Inverse and Caleb still kind of debating what they're going to be going with, it seems. But it seems like Soesic's going to once again opt for the Sim offense here. The Sim offense has just not been seeming to work, because if a Doomfist sees you lay that teleporter down, he's going to smack you in the face as soon as you come out the other end of it. But Inverse, interestingly enough, opting for the Sim on defense.
Is this like I can think of a few jokes. Wait, no, the defense completely splintered. Oh, so the Lucio is gonna bring them in. Okay, cool, that's gonna happen. But yeah, inverse on the Symmetra. Is this like one of those things that was like, I'm gonna fight you, like come fight me yourself, you coward. Inverse on the Symmetra. Let's see what happens here as the offense from Soesic Esports comes in. They set up the teleporter. They go straight to high ground. They don't go for the point, and that could be the trick. That could be the little kind of unexpected, we weren't planning for this. Yes, there it is. They now go straight to the point. The Symmetra turrets are being set up. It's barrier on barrier, mano on mano, and Abyss flexing the mano real hard. Pain Warrior goes down immediately in the fight. Such a huge source of healing gone. Inverse drop, that's a major source of damage. If you're in the barriers meta, it's looking pretty good for Soesic.
Yeah, Soesic gonna be taking this. It will just be a question of cleanup at this point. Early Bird was perhaps one of the most crucial characters in that situation, putting down that immortality field. And if you're on the side of Nocturnal, you probably should not have given them that space, because once they get that immortality field down, it changes the shape of the fight. Either way, we're gonna be seeing Soesic walk away with it. It's now 2-1, Soesic's favor.
Yeah, there's a lot of abilities that bring a 7th player onto the board. A 7th target, I guess. Bob is, of course, one of them who can contest. Batiste's ultimate, one of them. You know? You don't think about it, you know, like, it's not a character, but you gotta kill it. And it has a relatively significant source of health, honestly. And it is a colossal pain in the patoot. So, that is going to be Soesic Esports on the map that they selected, claiming victory. I'm shocked. Shocked, I say. Not that shocked, because that was actually a really good match on Hanamura, and I'm genuinely impressed. So that being said, we're going to be going to the map ban phase once again, and this is where I gotta drop it one more time. The follow the subs. It makes the magic happen. And of course, that means you get notified every time that Star Esports Live goes live and brings you just this crazy over. Where else are you gonna find Ryan Zarya? I'm sorry, I'm still stuck on that one. I'm done. I'm out.
All right, well, as Three drops the mic, I'll go ahead and pick up a little bit. Yeah, definitely give us those likes, those follows, those social media endorsements of your choosing, if you prefer. And we love seeing you guys hang out in the chats. I know I like being told that I'm a bad caster, because it helps me get better. And, you know, that's all we're trying to do. I think that's... we're just trying to help us, help the production, and help these teams get better. We want to show them that support. So I think the social media endorsements, great way to do that. As well, don't forget, speaking of endorsements, Twitch MVP vote. Don't forget to put it down in the chat box below. Let us know what you think is popping off for tonight.
Make it happen. Also, special thanks to Z Hat, who has just followed the channel. We're glad to have you here. And so, as we get into the ban selection phase, it looks like Busan is being attempted to be banned. I'm gonna look at my cheat sheet real quick. Yes, that is a valid map. So Busan's gonna, wow, okay, holy moly, Nocturnal, they are very excited to play the next map. Spoiler alert, it's Dorado. Wow. So Busan gets banned almost immediately, but no bait this time. All right, Dorado. So all right, what do you even do on Dorado if you're Nocturnal at this point?
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and throw this out there. I'm not going to speculate on anything Nocturnal's going to do. They are throwing out some wacky playstyles right now. We've seen Ryan Zarya. We've seen Winston Hammonds. We've seen them play a little bit of Ori Sig when, you know, it seems fitting for them. They pull out the hog for a little bit, but I'm gonna discount that. Bubbles gets a free pass on that one from me. So the TLDRs, I have no clue. I don't know what we can expect coming out from here, but I do know Dorado going to be the first escort map we'll be seeing of the night, and this is going to be a little bit more decisive. This means that there is only an infinitesimally small chance for the teams to get a draw here, which means Nocturnal need to win this.
Yes, and I think that's the thing that is I am the most curiouser about. The most previous map that we played was Assault, which is a very tieable map, but you can't pick the same map type in a row in this particular tournament. You could have chosen Hybrid. There is a remaining Hybrid map, and it's Hollywood. But that allows for ties and whatnot. Nocturnal have literally thrown themselves into a sudden death situation for themselves. Soesic is fine. They can actually throw the map entirely, and then they just go on to the next one. But, which, you know, I'm not necessarily opposed to. But Yeah, Nocturnal has to win, and Soesic, ballsy as they are, have elected to start on the attack. And as we've noted multiple times in the statisticians can, fling about their super fancy maths and whatnot. I actually like statistics. But starting on defense tends to favor the victor. The victor in a map tends to favor the defense initially. So, Soesic, however, no, we're cool. We're just gonna ram this payload right down Nocturnal's throat. So I got no idea what they're planning. Is it pirate ship? Man, I got nothing.
Yeah, I mean, it's I don't even know. We might see that old school from like the original back when we were the Watchers brawl, that interior Mei hold, and Caleb's lining up with the Mei. They might be going with this Mei interior stall. A double shield might not be the worst call for that. This is interesting. I'm very curious to see what the options are here with Caleb on this Mei.
So, okay. Caleb, you absolute madman. You're playing a Mei, and that brings to mind a particular strategy. But you're missing the Bastion. You have the double barriers, they're doing it. No, they're not. Okay, no, they just have... I saw the silhouettes going for that house, and I was like, yes, make it happen. It's not happening. They're actually retreating so dang far. I have no idea what they're planning. But, yes, so it's a very standard composition these days, rather, I should say, coming out from Soesic Esports, and they're getting off to a fantastic start. It's the poke phase, and that pretty much means Orisa's, Lucio's, and Orisa's are going to have some fun.
Yeah, and it's really going to be on Nocturnal to make sure nobody kind of gets behind them, because that's one of the ways the DPS can reliably get up on you, but they're going to drop down almost immediately.
So old man Overwatch gets to say, back in my day, we didn't give us this much payload progress just from the high ground. But what we're actually going to be seeing is this much payload progress being given up in the high ground. Now, Caleb has thrown out the Mei wall, and it's going to result in absolutely nothing, but it does separate the team a bit. But, in fact, yes, Inverse grabs the first kill. Inverse grabs the second kill for good measure. Caleb goes down, but all the healers on Soesic are done. I think that's going to be it for this particular push.
Get into position.
So, we are actually, so interesting, Soesic actually stick around long enough to have Abyss be staggered, which is interesting. It's not their usual modus operandi, just giving away kills for free, but hey, try something new.
Yeah, absolutely. And right now, Caleb wasn't able to build up the most ult charge. Inverse getting brought dangerously low, by the way, but not able to build up the most ult charge towards that Blizzard, but they're still going to have it kind of close to being on the hip, but a big separation on to the side of Rascal. You might like to see that.
And there it is. Abyss finds the kill onto Vinna. The dueling coalescences are out, but all things remaining equal as the die goes in. It's still going to be currently favoring the offense. They're going to replenish those lost causes a lot faster, is what I would like to say. But Pain Warrior has decided that they are going to be inflicting a great quantity of pain. And Nocturnal looking very strong on this defense.
Yeah, they certainly are, and they're building up ult charge at a pretty reliable rate. Now we're going to be seeing Caleb come up with that Blizzard I was talking about earlier. Unknown, going to be coming out of spawn, but will have that sound barrier. And Lucio's not the worst character to have staggered. You'd like to see that speed coming out of spawn. It's going to be regrouped here in just about 3 more seconds. And so it's going to be about 3 ults to 3 to match, neither one being the Reaper ult, which means a lot of damage not going to be applicable in the fight.
Wow, Zac Attack opens up with that Gravitic Flux faster than you can say. Mei cancels it out. The barriers are in, and Nocturnal has decided that this is their time to shine. Bubbles rips out. No, it's trades. It's perfect trades. No, okay, so there it is. Nocturnal finds their feet under them once again. Pascal commits the bongos to a fight that was so lost. Someone was already signing the Treaty of Versailles. Now, Sia Healy also throwing the Coalescence in. Now, Soesic Esports look like they're taking a bit of the pages of a playbook from another scrappy team that I will not mention. Citizens. It's Citizens. And they're pushing the payload, and they're winning. And I can't believe this is working out for them, because it shouldn't.
Yeah, Abyss gonna get punished a little bit. I don't think that's gonna bother them too much. As we see, that was quite a bit of stall. Gonna be taking it down to about a minute, which means we have about 3.5 left in the time bank for the side of Soesic to continue pushing. But they're not gonna feel too uncomfortable about that, because they have quite a few ults online. The high ground is gonna be the interesting part for me, 3.
Yep, It's rare to see. Honestly, I haven't seen Dorado Streets phase in some time, so this is going to be fascinating. Plenty of ults for both sides, honestly. This is going to be really good. They've got 3 minutes to hash this out. Coalescence going to be coming out immediately from Pain Warrior in this fight. Abyss not going to be around for it because he's somewhere in Invincibility land, dying after he lands. And so, yeah, Soesic Esports, deprived of one of their most primary barrier buster inverse, flings themselves into the backline, gets no kills whatsoever. But the fight is pretty much already won by Nocturnal. Alright, so as we stabilize here, it looks like Soesic Esports have literally the entire recipe for finishing point B. They've got a truckload of ultimates. Actually, they might get the big six. Sigma's a little close to Moira in his ult generation capabilities, so I'm curious how this will go for Nocturnal.
Yeah, it's certainly a little bit in Nocturnal's court right now with the ult economy, and that May Blizzard going out might be the tipping point for this fight, and a few more ults being committed on both sides.
Yeah, trades. Pascal's bongos seemingly incapable of surviving, nor are they capable, it seems, of dropping them before the fight actually begins. And so, yeah, that's actually, once again, despite all odds, that's Soesic's smashing victory. They'll replenish their losses pretty quickly, actually. Since Lucio was one of them, everyone's going to come back at a pretty quick pace. This is very, very interesting.
Yeah, I'm interested because Nocturnal does not seem to be playing a comp that deals too heavily in winning fights. They seem to be dealing in a composition that holds on to fights for a very long time. I think that's a very interesting dynamic to be taking here with the May and the Reaper, but Reaper just taking out Seoli right out the gate.
Yeah, Pobrecito Bubbles, Bongos goes down. Bubbles themselves actually follow. It's both Arisa's down now, however. It's anyone's fight, is what I would like to say, but defense looking a little strong, which is what I usually say before Soesic Esports takes the fight anyways, but in this case, that's not going to happen. So, rather, Nocturnal stabilizing here. It's a minute left now, and Zac Attack, despite grabbing the kill onto Unknown, no! They are going to get the kill onto Unknown, and they're going to keep pushing up because everyone else is back and ready to kill.
Yeah, it's quite a long walk back from the attacking team, but it's, not necessarily the most friendly walk for the defense either. And that May Blizzard is going to be crucial. They're trying to focus down early bird, but it's not going to quite be landing until it does.
Yeah, and the head clicks for days, all courtesy of Caleb's gigantic Blizzard. And that is a perfect team wipe. Stabilization complete. It's 20 seconds left. The stall's got to be coming out now from Soesic Esports. They're not going to make it back otherwise.
Yeah, they need something that can get to point rather quickly. And you got to establish they might not be able to get there kind of all at once, although it looks like they're actually doing a pretty good job of sticking together. Not a whole lot of mobility on that team means everybody's moving at pretty much the same pace. And right now, this is the last fight. Both Coalescence is coming out to start.
I have expected Bubbles to literally morph into a Hammond. Instead, it's inverse Death Blossoming. But then it's Mighty Owl on the 3K! And the offense will continue. Another perfect team wipe. No thanks in part, rather extra thanks in part, to Pascal finally getting the mileage out of the bongos.
Yeah, I think a large part of that may have been a slight misplay by Unknown. I think they booped Mighty Owl across the team, basically throwing them into those soft, squishy enemies, and that's a tough spot. You're going to be kicking yourself over that, especially since things were looking so good before that triple kill.
Yeah, that gets you reported in quick play pretty hard. But in this case, Soesic have bought themselves a minute and a half, and they are making good use of it. Vinna, however, they're going to be tossing out the Gravitic Flux of their own. The barriers was there, and Soesic Esports have decided enough is enough. It is kill time. Early Bird, Mighty Owl, lighting up the kill feed. No Caleb means no CC, and that is a huge emphasis, rather a huge element of the defense for Nocturnal, and without Caleb, I think, yeah, that's going to be a crumble. It's 30 seconds left. There's a solid chance, outside of overtime, of course. I think Soesic might have a solid play in finishing this.
Yeah, it will be in overtime, especially as Caleb's going to be throwing that Blizzard out. But the kills might be able to come through if they're able to take down Early Bird, who gets frozen behind the cart. The rest of the kills coming through as well. So crucial there that those kills came in, with Inverse popping off.
Yeah, that was nuts. Inverse going right into that Blizzard. Looks like they don't mind the cold. What's that line from that movie that I actually haven't seen? Anyways, so 5 seconds left. Now it's Soesic Esports' chance to once again get back on the point. This time, however, Early Bird goes down very quickly, and Zac Attack It's not going to be long. Overtime is going to be taken down. This is cleanup time for Nocturnal. This is just janitorial work. The map ends, but holy moly, Soesic pushed it exactly 81.31 meters further than I thought they would.
Indeed. I want to give a little bit of a shout out to Unknown, who saw Early Bird kind of crouch down in the lower level on that Lucio, ready to contest at the last moment with a little bit of wall riding skill, just rained on them from above, getting a few headshots, dunking them down early, not even giving them the chance to stall, meaning that it would just be the Hammond coming out on point. And the rest was just a pretty good recovery. Like I said, there weren't many fights that were incredibly decisive in the favor of Nocturnal, that is, but they did do a lot of work in dragging the timer out. Caleb, I think, instrumental on that. That May, great at delaying the timer as well. That ults can just lock people into place and turn fights around in an aspect you might not necessarily expect. But this time, Caleb going to be hopping onto the Pharah, taking him to the skies.
Yeah, that's a really solid option for especially the first point of Dorado. There's a lot of sneaky places you can just be an absolute pain in the butt. There's this little wall here. There's the little wall over there. It's just rough times for everyone if you're on the ground and you have nothing to deal with. And that's exactly the situation that Soesic Esports is going to be in. They are sticking with the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. composition, which, unless Pharah is low enough and barraging, a Reaper can deal with that absolutely 100%, but it's going to be interesting. Also, guess what Pharah does to high ground people?
Gives them a sandwich and cookie.
Oh, man, I wish. Oh, man.
No, it will instead be the concussion blast to knock everybody off of that high ground. However, a lot of shields mean that concussion blast might have a hard time finding purchase.
I think that's why Vinna is on a Hammond. Yep. Oh, they get some rammy action, but they're not going to be able to boop everyone off as Soesic reacts exactly accordingly. They have rotated in full. They're going to be guarding the choke here. And so now it's going to be up once again to the DPS as Caleb with the rockets. And yeah, if you have less barriers than the other team, that means the other team is going to be using as much of their damage as possible on you directly. Bubbles goes down first. Both tanks gone. Nocturnal can't stay in this fight, and they're going to have to find some flankies while their tanks come out of spawn.
Yeah, it's going to be on Caleb to try to perhaps build that rocket barrage as fast as possible. They're going to actually be going behind the enemy team, but they get caught out, and you don't want to lose your Mercy or your Pharah in that situation. But Caleb applying that pressure to the back lines, not the worst option.
Yeah, they're just raining down the rockets. It's direct hit central. And with both sides can't contend with it. However, Bubbles, both Arisas going down. So now that's a good solid trade if the damage can handle it. But Caleb, if you fly too close to the Moira, you get biologically murdered. I was trying to make an Icarus thing there, but it didn't really happen. Anyways, Inverse gets the res, so Nocturnal going to be able to stay in this fight just a bit longer.
Yeah, and with Caleb using that barrage to take down Zac Attack, that might be the opportunity needed for the now attacking team here, especially with the Meteor Strike coming in. They're going to have to play very carefully around Abyss.
Yeah, Mighty Owl finds the Pharah, of course, because, again, fly too low, get murdered by shotguns. I'm sure that's a Greek myth. But in any event, no, it's Soesic Esports. They're stabilizing, and they're looking pretty good.
Yeah, Abyss going to be extending a little too much, as we've seen come through from these DPS players, and it's not a spot you want to be in. You don't want to get hit by that rocket. You definitely don't want to get hit by rockets following it.
Yeah, and Caleb now going to be starting generating their own, rather than the next barrage. Vinna going in for the Gravitic Flux. And, wow, okay, Valkyrie coming out. That's fascinating. I literally am shocked into, yep, there it is. Soesic Esports, it doesn't matter what healing you have on the ground, because Zac Attack and Mighty Owl are here to bring the pain.
Yeah, I don't know if Caleb on this far is necessarily working right now. It seems like just not able to find those angles on this tight overpass style area. So I'm not quite sure what the solution is here, however.
Switch to Reaper is what Caleb has decided is at least their answer to the problem. We'll see if the teacher marks it correct. Vin is still holding onto the Gravitic Flux. Caleb getting very low, but the Flux is going to go off, no problem. Pascal's bongos again. Most bullied thing on the field. Press F to pay respects, but also press, if you're Abyss, right-click to murder Caleb.
And a lot of members of the side of Soesic getting brought really low, just not quite able to be delivered into the nice cradle of death. But Nocturnal now still really low on ults, and that's not something we've been seeing Soesic struggle with this defense.
Yeah. Zek Attack Abyss, looking good. Early Bird, I don't know. They're probably going to have their barriers. It's just kind of what I expect. But early kill onto Abyss. Again with the overextension. Now, this might be the bad times friend ahead for them. Bubbles throws down the bongos, but the Zek Attack, there it is. Huge kills for Soesic. Unbelievable.
Yeah, it looked like the side of Soesic had their number, knew exactly the route they were going to take, and was ready with Zek Attack to pop that grab Flux. Despite losing Abyss early, which you lose that Doomfist Meteor Strike, you think you lose a little bit of staying power, a little bit of damage, and there's still no response in terms of ult from Nocturnal. They have nothing on the board.
Yeah, contesting isn't going to be the problem. Getting the kills to secure it with no ultimates is. Overtime is in, and Early Bird throwing out the barriers is going to make those kills a hell of a lot harder. Pain Warrior, I was going to say Pain Warrior had a coalescence, and it's a super awesome coalescence. But a 2K from Mighty Owl and a 2K from Abyss means that that's just going to be the end of it. And there it is. Soesic Esports throws that third point on the board.
Yeah, this is the one time where 2 + 2 = 3, because 2 kills on 2 definitely going to be leading to the third point for Soesic. They're going to be taking this one, walking away. On the side of Nocturnal, unfortunately, that will be their last time hopping into this tournament with us this time around. Hopefully, we'll see them in some later and there's the boop. The boop from Unknown knocking Mighty Owl across the field. I had to bring it up. I had to bring it back up.
Yeah, that's a huge... there is not a F key on the keyboard that is big enough and heavy enough to emphasize how brutal that is to watch. Have I been there as a Lucio? Absolutely. It's why I don't play the character. Anyways, so that is going to be the end of the match there. And fantastic performance from Soesic Esports. What were we talking about? It was, if you can win the map that your opponent has picked, you are pretty much just, mainlining yourself all the way to victory. And that's exactly what Soesic Esports has happened, and not a problem at all. So we're going to be seeing Zek Attack, I believe, if we can grab them from Soesic Esports, coming into the caster's booth. Meanwhile, while we're still wrapping up here, don't forget, this is your last chance to grab the sick, awesome MVP votes below in the chat. Because, sorry, not the chat, the Twitch picks below the stream. Come on, get your spiels right. Anyways, grab your Twitch picks, and also, of course, if you're liking what you're seeing, throw us a follow, a subscribe if you're feeling dandy. It is Have Sub September. And without a doubt, that is going to be the wrap up here. So, just a moment now, we're coming into the good times. It's Zek Attack from Soesic Esports, and let me just be the first to say congratulations to you and your team.
Oh, thanks, man. Can you guys hear me?
Oh,
Yep.
We got you loud and clear.
That's
You are
perfect. What's up, guys?
Just here casting some great Overwatch games from what we saw.
Oh,
live.
thanks,
Courtesy of
man.
yourself.
It's a good game, a good game.
So, after coming on the heels of that match, you guys just trucked it on Dorado. So offense first. I want to actually, I want to open with that because I'm just so happy that you guys did it. Do you guys like taking offense first on escort maps? Is that like your go-to?
No, not normally. We took offense first because we were assuming they were going to run a strat that you saw us scouting early on, that they were going to hold bunker, in Red Room. So we wanted to get the offense first to see if they were going to try that strat on us and to see if we could get the jump and get the advantage early on. See if we could rattle them a little bit by catching their strat off guard.
That actually is what we were successfully baited into thinking. So you and me both, my friendo. But so well played there. And it obviously worked out for you guys. You guys, almost literally completed the map and then full held. So yeah, if as far as offense first goes, that's kind of the way you want to run it.
Yeah. It felt pretty good. Pretty fun game. GG's to both to the other team.
Now, Zek Attack, I'd like to take a moment to ask about your personal, do you have any pre-game rituals or pre-scrim rituals, whatever the case may be, that you like to do before you actually get started in a match?
Okay, so I personally have a couple like I don't have any real pre-game rituals. Get some hype music on. I'm sure every player does this. Get some hype music on. You know, chill with the team, talk a little bit. Our team normally does some FFA stuff before warm-ups and stuff. Kind of just building that team synergy. The only thing I will say is our boy Papa Skull, Pascal. He has a little ritual that he does before every single map, our mic check. We always try to do the silliest mic check as possible. It feels good, man. It gets all of us hyped up.
I love it. First of all, I love it. It makes me so blanking happy. Also, yes, Thunderstruck was my old team's our opening digs, and it's very hype. So yeah, so no, I super dig it. So going into Dorado, by the way, or not going into Dorado, I should say. You guys came off Lijiang Tower. It was looking pretty good, and then it was a bit of the clapback. It came up 1-1. What was going through you guys' mind at that point?
I'm gonna be real. We're a team that's GG go next. Things happen. Whatever happens. That map's done. We try our hardest on every single map, regardless of if we've lost or won the previous one. So it doesn't really phase us.
I mean, you guys heard it from Zack Attack first. PMA. GG. Next fight.
GG go next.
Clearly it worked for them, right? Like,
hey man, gotta keep that morale up.
Yeah, right. What else can you say?
Yeah. In a similar vein to that, were there instances where you guys were like, what is this opposing team running? Because there was some stuff that me and 3 were not expecting. Winston Hammond, nah, like the Ryan Zarion King, it hasn't been seen in a while. So what was your team's mindset going into that, seeing those weird comps?
We weren't too scared. We got caught off guard on Kings Row a little bit by the Ryan Zarya, but we should have been expected. We misplayed that, but we know how to deal with the Ryan Zarya. We just misplayed. As far as the Winston Hammond comps, as you saw, we swapped to the Roadhog. Swapped to the Roadhog Orisa. So we had set strategies. It wasn't anything that we were too scared to do. Like, we knew what to do and how to counter it. So we weren't caught off guard necessarily, except for that one map where it was more our misplays than us being afraid of them. There was a couple of times we were getting confused by the enemy team. They kept swapping back and forth and off of things and going back onto like they're going back and forth from Widow to Doomfist and that caught us off guard a little bit, where we'd have to reset our positions. But other than that, we were pretty much prepared for a lot of what they threw at us.
Well, it definitely looked like it. And again, as we are clearly seeing right now, it is Soesic Esports who are going to continue on their tear through the Overwatch All-Stars Brawl 2. And so, again, I would like to extend congratulations, Zack Attack, to you and your team. It was a fantastic matchup, and we're looking forward to seeing more.
Thanks, man. Hey, can I give a little shout out? Absolutely. All right, everybody go check out Soesic Clothing, our sponsor and our brand, and COLE7 on Twitch. He's a big pog. He's a big yeller. He's our man. So yeah, thanks, man.
You guys heard it from the man themselves, Zack Attack. Thanks once again for joining us in the booth, and we look forward to seeing you all again. Now.
All right, thanks, man. See you guys.
Pleasure as always.
Bye.
All right, Sir Waltham. This is it. We've got the goods. We've got the news. What's it gonna be? Do we? Oh no, we don't. We don't have the results yet. So the MVP poll is still going to be hanging in there. However, this has been the matchup between Soesic Esports and Nocturnal, and it was a fantastic matchup. And we again extend our congratulations to Soesic Esports. Now, there it is. There it is. It's the MVP poll, and Sir Waltham, this is good. I like this a lot. I like where players are going here. It's unknown.
Oh, okay. Apparently they're not holding Dorado too much against unknown. I gotta appreciate that.
Yeah. So the play is good. The play was good. So mad respect, and it's the viewers' choice. It's like they get to pick. So this is it. They get to let us know who we should have been following. It's a shame, because we might not be able to get to see more of them. But
Yeah.
hopefully Nocturnal shows up again in these particular tournaments.
Yeah, and I mean, looking at it in the most literal fashion, unknown, certainly the most valuable player for at least one team fight. I mean, that probably can't be understated. So, I gotta give him the big congratulations.
100% fact.
But
so, all right, here we go. We're done. It's happened. We've got one more match coming at you at 10 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. But for now, this has been the Overwatch All-Stars Brawl number dose. have been Threepwood007. You can grab me on Twitch or Twitter at Threepwood007.
And likewise, I've been Sir Waltham. You can catch me on Twitch or Twitter when my internet is not absolutely freaking out at Sir Waltham, Waltham. Spell it fantastically. And for everybody here at the Overwatch All-Stars Brawl, we appreciate having you guys in. We appreciate all the endorsements, the subs, the follows, the tweets, the likes, the bells, the whatever, the bells and whistles, all that good stuff. We love seeing it in the chat. We love seeing you guys interact with us. So a big thank you to everybody who's partaking of this tournament. And for those of us here, I'd like to wish you guys a good night and stay safe out there, everyone.